This year in November, Sao Paulo, Brazil will host the 5th Brazil-Africa Forum, which is a platform for exchange of business ideas and how best to harness world best practices. The forum also hosts a youth technical training program that takes young Africans over to Brazil. João Bosco Monte is president of the Brazil-Africa Institute. Such a pleasure to have you with us, and thanks for joining us today, sir.
My pleasure.
It's fantastic looking at the outline of the forum that will be taking place later this year in the different sectors and industries that you actually look to unpack. But first, give us a quick overview of the current dynamics given relationships between Brazil as well as Africa as a whole.
Well, it's a good opportunity to be here to give you some information about what's happening in Brazil and look into Africa. I remember in 2003 when the former President Lula said that Africa would be a priority for Brazil. In fact, he meant it. And I saw many business people coming to Africa to see the potential of this continent. And now, in 2017, we have the Brazil-Africa Forum bringing leaders from many parts of Africa and to discuss with Brazilian leaders in this specific agenda on innovation technology. The event this year will bring Brazilian stakeholders, Brazilian businessmen, also from Africa and from other parts of the world to discuss the potential of doing business in Brazil, but also in Africa.
There's always a perception that when Brazil liaises with the continent, it's either South Africa or it's other Lusophone-speaking states. How are you managing to break down those dynamics and penetrate other markets?
Yeah, it's very important to see that we have in Africa 5 countries speaking Portuguese: Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, and São Tomé e Príncipe. But I always say that Africa is not just 5 countries. So Brazil should look more than those 5 countries: East Africa, North Africa, Southern Africa. So Brazil should go beyond. And I see now that many Brazilian business people are coming to Kenya, coming to Nigeria, coming to South Africa to discuss potential of opportunities.
How easy is it, though, trying to look at business opportunities when in both Brazil and some parts of the African continent, politically, it's been incredibly volatile?
Well, it's not easy because there is one misunderstanding about what is Africa. Mainly when Brazil think about Africa, is more than just one country, right? But people think that Africa is just one scenario. And I keep saying to Brazilians, you should come to Africa to visit, to see the difference between all the countries. And I keep saying to the Africans, you should come to Brazil to give us, to the Brazilian perspective, what we can find here. And I'm taking some Brazilian people to Africa to visit, to discuss. And when they come here, they get amazed about the potential.
Even though we're in a technical recession, we've had downgrades, not only in South Africa, but even amongst many of our top-performing African economies.
Well, the economy is cycle, right? Brazil is not that good now, but if you look back 5 years ago, Brazil was, the epicenter of everything. And many people want to come to Brazil to join what we're doing there. But I think this will change. But in Africa as well. South Africa is not good as well, but I think this could change. And we cannot be seated waiting for something. We have to do our job. So what we're doing now is putting people together to discuss. Now is not that good, but I'm very sure that tomorrow could be different.
Give us a sense of the kind of training that will take place with the youth, taking African youth over to Brazil and trying to upskill them.
Last year, we decided that we should emphasize the technical training program to bring African young people to Brazil. And in some areas, specifically agriculture, Brazil passed it. Brazil it's doing very well. If you look back 4 years ago, Brazil is just like some parts of Africa. If you go to soybean, if you go to rice, if you go to maize, milk, dairy production, in some parts of Brazil, we are doing very well. And the idea is to bring young people, agripreneurs, to Brazil to be training in many areas. And this year will be the kickoff of this event, just around the forum that you mentioned. We are bringing 30 young people from 18 to 35 years old to be trained in Brazil, from many parts of Africa. And when we start to talk about this, to dialogue about this, and you mentioned about the Portuguese-speaking country, and people said, well, how come African people that doesn't speak Portuguese can come to Brazil? And I said, well, we can do it in English, we can do it in French. So this event, this first edition, will be conducted in English. So 30 young people from Africa, from many parts of Africa, will be receiving training during 2.5 months in Brazil on cassava specifically. And then next year, we are already working for 6 more editions. So trying to answer your question, training is very important for us, and I think we can upscale production. And for example, for cassava, Nigeria is one of the biggest producers of cassava in the world, but there is no add value. So how can you produce with that add value to the productivity, right?
True, true. As we do wrap up, though, unfortunately we're under pressure for time. When it comes to the forum, it's the 5th forum that will be held in Sao Paulo. What positive outcomes are we looking to hold you accountable to following the meeting?
We have 2 days event. In 2 days event, we cannot just solve all the problems of the world, right? But the idea is to bring leaders from many areas, both government, private sector, and academia in some other areas, to discuss the ideas, to present the good practices, and at the end of the day, find good business opportunities. I see opportunities now. For example, your company, a South Africa company, now is running the airport of Sao Paulo, right? AXA is now in Brazil, right? Which is good. We have a company from Algeria doing business in the north of Brazil. We have Angola Cables, which now is doing things in Brazil as well. So after 2 days event, I'm very sure that we can find opportunities.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it, and thank you so much for your time. I should be saying muito obrigado.
Thank you very much. De nada.
Thanks so much, sir. Well, that was João Bosco Monte, who's the president of the Brazil Africa Institute.